Yay, accomplishment today.
Yeah, I
Nick,
mean,
I'm Mike. That's Scott. Welcome to the show, good sir.
Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for reaching out and for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure. And been doing this since '99, the music thing and all.
Oh, I thought I was like,
Not
shit,
me.
we had podcasts back in
Well, well,
1999.
well. We've been on
it
13
feels like it
years. We're
sometimes.
yeah, we're carrying the same tread. So, so playing this long, out of curiosity, are you more astonished about the maturity that you had at a young age to get to here, or are you more astonished by the maturity you have now being a quote unquote adult?
Diving right in, aren't we? Yeah, like you said, I've been doing this since the late 1900s, as the kids say these days. There definitely was no maturity when I started doing this. I would not attribute any success to an early maturity or maturity at a young age. Um, and then I did it through literally all of my 20s. So did 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 not advance or mature during that time. When I turned 30, that was the time that we didn't like full on take a hiatus for 10 years, but we certainly turned off a lot of the engines and slowed down quite a bit. And that's when we all, did things like, I started going to therapy. I started, doing doing all the things that were either fixing the previous 10 years or just finally being an adult.
Do you think that like that hiatus and taking time and having the time to kind of reflect on things has kind of reinvigorated you guys? Because like it
Oh,
seems
absolutely.
it seems like you guys are having an absolute blast and doing whatever you want, which I'll get into your backyard shows in a little
Oh
bit.
yeah.
But I mean, that's gotta feel amazing to be able to come back to it like an old friend, you know?
It does, and I think that's what we were waiting to feel called back to it or to just to want to do it again. The whole reason we kind of just, stopped is because we were fucking burned out. It wasn't fun anymore.
Sure.
I mean, and true, it became what we did for a living. And we don't always like our jobs every day. And
Right.
some days felt more like a job than others, and that's fine. But we were genuinely just fucking burned out. We made 4 albums for major labels and in the 2000s, and so that looked like literally writing a record for a year, recording a record for a year, and then touring it for 1.5 maybe 2 years each time. And then as soon as we got off the road, we would
Back
go
in the
right
studio.
back to it and start the cycle all over again. We did that 4 times, and it was the 5th time we were about to do it. And Tyson, our singer, and I were just like, "Hey, you want to not?"
That simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, God, then thank you for saying that. Like, I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah.
Um, and that left, that allowed time and space for us to kind of each explore, personal lives and other, professional ventures, and you know, keeping the lights on in the
Sure.
band by playing shows occasionally. When we did a couple tours like in the what are we saying? What are we calling it? The late 2010s.
Yeah, I don't know what to call that.
We're already in the late 2020s. This is
I know.
insane. Uh, a couple tours like opening for other acts. Like we did
Right.
like a tour with Blink 182 one summer, and that was fun. But they're like little spurts here and there that it reminded us, kind of that there's this thing that we've done and that we get to do. But yeah, we never really, fired it back up until like 2023, really.
Mm. You kind of brought up something I was going to bring up later in the interview, but I think it's the ample opportunity as you talk about the 2010s and all that. It's kind of funny because like we have all these shows that celebrate the 80s. We've had a few that celebrate the 90s. I don't feel we've really had truly like a real nostalgic thank you to the 2000s. You kind of feel Gyp, since that's where most of your career is. You feel like there should be a
See,
Netflix show to be asking for my music right now.
see,
I saw.
I actually had a question I was going to ask him later. that I actually believe we are seeing the research, the boom of we're getting the treat of our pop punk and our emo and our heavy bands. We're seeing like this little post COVID world we're seeing now. Like I feel like everybody is very nostalgic for, but so I think, Mike, I think we're there. I think we're living in that. Thank you right now.
No, I disagree, and maybe we should ask our guest.
No, keep going. This is great. No, I saw a meme the other day. It was like, I'm offended that the 2000s is now an acceptable party theme.
Oh yeah.
Because we all grew up. I don't know how old you guys are, but I grew up. I wouldn't say I grew up in the 80s, but I lived through most of the 80s. I grew up in the 90s, but
same. Yep.
I mean, I was there. Like, I know what the 80s. Well, I know what my version of the 80s was. I was 8 when they were over, but
I was 6 when they're over. So,
yeah,
so
okay.
kind of
So,
same.
yeah,
I was in my teens, so
Yeah, Mike was 29 when they were over. So.
Oh damn!
No. 14 when it ended. Thank you.
But yeah, it was actually playing a festival that was kind of devoted to, honoring. We never really felt like we were part of a scene. We were just a band that kind of came up around all these other bands that were, getting played on the radio or whatever. And there was a festival dedicated to that whole thing, and I want to say it was late 2022. We didn't it was one of those things, like the lineup was so insane with like all these bands. Some of them, were getting back together just to play this show. Yep. And we were like, this isn't real. This isn't actually going to happen. Like, we're going to show up and like everybody's going to be like, ha, fooled you guys. Show's not real. But no, we showed up and all these other bands were there, some that we'd, played with before and hadn't seen in a long time. And then all the fans showed up too. And there was, it was huge. It was in Vegas, and there were just, tens of thousands of people, and they stayed to watch us play. Like, I think we were playing at the same time as like Avril Lavigne or something, and our crowd was fucking huge. We're like, are they at the wrong stage? Like, what? Do they think they're about to see Avril? And we took the piss out of it too. Like, it was in Vegas, so we all dressed up like Elvis. Like, we're just having fun with it. Like, this was going to be just another one-off show that, just like all the others we had been playing for the, last decade. But it felt like the first show we'd played for like actual real fans in a while. And that was a wake-up call. I mean, it was like, oh wow, like this isn't just something to take the piss out of. Like, what we did is still important to some people, and it's still important to us. We just we're trying to take ourselves too seriously, I guess. And that was kind of the wake-up call. Like, okay, like, what if we went and played more shows for like actual fans, not people who were just showing up at the state fair or whatever. And that was 2023 when we did that tour, and it was fucking epic. It was amazing. And yeah, I think some of it is maybe some nostalgia from the 2000s. A lot of our fans are the same fans that were coming to shows, and going to Warped Tour and stuff.
Yep.
And yeah, I think a lot of it is also the post-COVID thing. I think now we're kind of seeing a stall to that with, the way ticket prices are and stuff. But yeah, it's crazy to think that, like, it's not just like fans that have been listening to us for 20 years. It's like kids who are finding us for the first time too. I think as much as I loved growing up on tapes and CDs, and I love this resurgence of vinyl records, I think what streaming has brought us is like kids who are finding our band, finding tons of artists, not realizing that maybe these bands are 20 years old. Maybe they're not even together anymore. Maybe some of these people are dead. I don't know.
The freaking Deftones are bigger than they've ever been, and they're like trending on TikTok. I'm like, I was listening to Deftones in 8th grade, man. Like, it's amazing. Like,
it's made music timeless. Like, I remember as a kid, like, flipping over a CD and being like, oh, this came out 10 years ago. It's old. You know what I mean? And like, immediately judging it before even hearing it. So there's something timeless and pure about, the way kids are listening to music, the way we're all listening to music nowadays, but the way like younger kids and younger generations are finding bands and finding us, finding music. It's pretty cool.
Now, I've read interviews with you and describe like how you're very much a gearhead and very technical and very. I'm curious
Well,
if
I try to be.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm curious. Like, has time scratched that itch for you, or is it still just like for example, I was in a band with a guy in high school and he was the gear guy in the band.
Yeah.
We still go over, we haven't been in a band together in 20 years. We still go over his house and the guitars are filling up the room and the heads and like he just can't stop. I'm curious, like
It is an addiction. And
yeah.
if it wasn't gear, like music gear, it's kind of transferred into other areas. Like I'm a coffee nerd, so I've got all kinds of coffee gear. I travel with coffee gear. I'm usually just like pure, like hand poured black coffee. Like I'm a purist with that. But I did just get my first espresso machine, and that has opened a floodgate of more gear. So I do think it's an addiction. I think it's it's a type of personality, and I definitely have that. I don't necessarily know how to use all of it, but I need to have all of it.
Now, when you guys go into like the studio and whatnot, is that really hard to have you in the room as far as like ideas and let's try this head with this speaker and this like, because that can be exhausting too, but it could also be magical.
It can be, and it can certainly stall creativity and momentum.
Right.
What's been fun, we literally actually this week are finishing our first full-length album.
Oh, cool.
14 years. And we started this process about a year and a half ago, just recording some new music and finding our voice in new music, if you will. Tyson lyrically, and us as a band musically, like what do we want to say? And there was a lot of trial and error and experimentation. And then we kind of found that voice, and whether, for me, it was, okay, I know exactly what works with this record. And it was a couple specific guitars, a couple specific amps. And I mean, I am the guy who like, ooh, I have an idea, and I'll go into the other room and come back with just armloads of pedals and just plug them all in and just try shit. But me, and I have a studio at my house in Nashville. My engineer there, Herbie, we kind of developed this like just language between each other. Like we know what we want to try. We know what works. We know what doesn't work immediately. And so, yes, while it maybe was slow starting this process, and a lot of experimentation and a lot of second guessing and recording things over and over and being like, that's almost it, but let's change everything. Just going back and redoing it. Once we kind of found the roadmap for this particular record, it was almost easy. It was like and quick and efficient, and it left room for additional spontaneity and additional experimentation, because those big tent poles, like we know it's this amp, we know it's this guitar, we know this is the part.
Nice.
Now let's have some fun with this new toy that I bought because I saw it on Instagram. You know what I mean?
And the new album is Sandbox, right?
It is, yeah. We put out a song called Sandbox last April. It was the first song, the first single, and it just kind of it just felt like the theme of the record, so it became the title of the record. And yeah, we're literally mastering on Friday. So
awesome.
Down to the wire, trying to make that May 15th release date.
So as we talk about the new album, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah, man.
You send in a 5-song demo, gets picked up, somebody listens to it. Yep, let's sign you to a record. Kind of talk about those first steps of kind of meaning, hey, that's the only 5 songs we got, and kind of growing to add to the band to become who you were.
Now what do we do?
Yeah. I mean, they always say you have your whole life to write your first album, but we really didn't. We had a semester. because we were so young. That's how we marked time, was by semesters. um, yeah, I mean, it was pretty old school. I mean, it was before MySpace. It was before bands were getting discovered online. Um, I had a massive CD collection. So what I did is I took these demos that Tyson and I had recorded in my bedroom, burned them on CDs, printed a little booklet with a picture of us and like, the song titles or whatever, and stuffed them in envelopes and flipped all my CDs that I already owned, flipped all those over because you could find the address for the record label on the back of the CD. Literally just filled them. Every record label that I had, that I could find on the backs of those CDs, I just filled them out. And I had a bunch of Get Up Kids CDs. So I had the address to Doghouse Records in Toledo, Ohio. And it may surprise you to hear, but people do not listen to unsolicited demos sent through the mail. They usually go straight into the trash. So
of course.
I told you that didn't work, Scott. That's why we're still here on the podcast.
We burn CDs of our episodes and send them to you. It's just not working.
Yeah. Screw those Apple tunes.
Those Apple tunes. Most of those probably didn't even make it past the reception desk. But somehow somebody at Doghouse Records actually opened it and actually listened to it. They flew to Tulsa. They saw us play at a little club there called Curly's. They took us out to eat at the old Spaghetti Warehouse. And, they pretty much, I'd say signed us on the spot. They voiced their interest in working together on our band. And they were like, so like, what are do you have the other songs? Like, what? They came and saw, we played the 5 songs that we wrote and a bunch of covers. And they were like, what, like, so like, we want to make a record. So like, what about the other songs? They're like, we don't have them yet. Like, we haven't written them yet. So they're like, okay, well, go write some songs. And then we'll make a record. And I mean, that's pretty fucking ballsy. Like, we didn't even have Swing Swing, the last song, My Paper Heart, Time Sent. Like, all the songs that we ended up making videos for didn't even have a single one of those.
Wow.
All these 5 songs that they heard, they did make the record, but I think maybe One More Sad Song was the only one. I think that was the one they heard. Like, okay, these guys got something. So, that was over the summer. And so we went, back to Stillwater where we grew up. I had already graduated and dropped out of college at this point. Tyson was a couple years younger than me, so he had to, do his senior year of high school. So he was able to graduate early after only one semester. Like, he graduated at Christmas, and then we got in a van and drove to New York and made our first record. But
that's wild.
To get to that point, he had to come over, almost every day after school. And, like I said, I dropped out of college, so I was sleeping until noon and, kind of just farting around until he got off school at 3, came over, and we would write and record these demos. And that's where we came up with the rest of the record. And I think we did like maybe a song a month for the next 6 months. Yeah. And there were no B-sides. There were nothing was on the cutting room floor. Like, the 11 songs that we had to our name went on that first record. And there's probably a song or two that we wish wasn't on that record at this point, but
of course,
but it's all we had. So,
I just love the idea of like him coming over after school, you guys writing a smash hit, and then like him having to go finish his homework after.
That's literally what it was. We were 17 and 19 years old.
That's incredible. Now I want to go back into this. We're bouncing all over here, but I want to go into this house tour, man. Like, this is such a cool thing to see. Just if people don't know, you guys went out and played in people's backyards and parties and whatnot. Very old school, and we've seen many people copy it since. But I'm curious, how this idea came about. And I mean, it's got to be awesome once it's set up, but I imagine like getting this set up and doing this has to be quite a little song and dance to make this happen too.
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it to keep it secret because we don't announce the shows until the day of.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't even know what the venue is until the day of. On what became a house party tour, there was one day we showed up at this house and it was just a death trap. Like I don't even know. Like we're gonna get electrocuted just plugging in here. One and two, like people are gonna die. So like we had to, like it was not going to work. So we had to scramble and find another venue, and that was in Minneapolis, and I think a bowling alley stepped up, and when they were they were like,
Go ahead.
come set a stage up on the lanes. So but yeah, I mean the idea came, it was just kind of a, I don't know, like I said, the whole reason we're doing this again is because we felt called back to do it, and it was fun again for the first time in a long time.
Sure.
And so what started as just a fun way to promote new music, just like, hey, let's go play like people's backyards and house parties and stuff. Because where I grew up in Stillwater, Oklahoma, there weren't really any venues. It's a college town, so there were bars that you could play. But when you're 17 and 19 and even younger, like you're not gonna go play at bars every night.
Right.
You got homework. It's a school night.
Unless you had the permission slip from your parents, as you've told in different podcasts.
That is true. Yeah, that actually is true. So we could play our one night a month at Mike's college bar.
Nice.
We did have the permission slips, but I mean, we had to put on our own shows, basically. If we wanted to, play to our peers. So that's kind of what this was, or what it started as. And we did a couple of these around the Los Angeles area, and people were vibing, like they were really into it, and they were talking about it online, and people were like, oh my god, this must be what it's like going to shows in the 2010s. And I'm like, what? No, wrong century, kid. But yeah, and so there was this idea. I remember Tyson called me and was like, hey, what would you think about doing more of these and like doing like a proper like house party tour? And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
That sounds scary. I was like, I was like, I don't know. Like that sounds stressful and expensive, and I don't know if that's gonna be anything anybody cares about. But as we learned, showing up at that festival back in Vegas in 2022 and then doing a headlining tour after that ended up being the biggest tour of our career after 20 years. We just rolled the dice and did it. And yeah, it was stressful, and it became bigger than us, and it became this mission statement for our band and for this record. And we're coming on a year of having done that tour, and talking about doing a few more, just to kind of a little victory lap, like look what we did. Like we couldn't have imagined.
Is there one in that run that stands out as like the craziest, or like, oh my god, this is getting shut down soon? Or
Well, I mean which one? The
Yep.
the bowling alley?
Yep.
The one that did get shut down by the cops, but then when they learned who we are, they were like, okay, you can play what?
All right.
Or the one where it was in a cornfield and 5,000 people showed up.
Oh my god.
Nice.
They were all insane for specific different reasons. It was, yeah, it's not repeatable. I think it's a really great how would you say, format to mount a show. And I think in the days where young artists are just trying to promote themselves on TikTok, I think doing something like this would be incalculable for a young artist, for the experience, and yeah, just putting on shows and in this fashion would be amazing. But what I think the experience we had was just something that, like I said, it just got bigger than us, and we couldn't recreate that if we tried. Each day got bigger, and scarier. And it's like, oh shit, maybe we need security. Oh shit, maybe we need porta pots. Like every day was like a new learning experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now you say you can't recreate it, so did you guys yell at Jimmy Eat World when they performed at Arby's in Florida? Jimmy gonna eat my fist if you don't stop doing that.
You know, I think it is one of those things you see it and you're like, hey.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, that's fucking cool. Like I'm glad people are having these experiences. I'm glad people noticed and are wanting to participate. It's pretty cool, especially like I said now with, you know, ticket prices being totally unapproachable to the majority of, you know, music fans. I don't know. It's like I said, we grew up putting on our own shows like this, and to kind of be able to start the machine back up and literally do it the exact same way that we used to is a great reminder for us, and it's been a lot of fun.
You brought up your studio, Wheelhouse Studio in Tennessee. Can you kind of tell us about some of the acts you perform with, what you look for in talent, how you help them out, and so forth when they come in?
Yeah, I mean, what started as an obsession, as a gear collection, eventually turned into being like, oh shit, like I can't just have a bedroom studio.
I could hide my gear here. Yes.
I had an opportunity to move to my favorite neighborhood in Nashville and build a studio in my backyard. And that was during COVID, and it became a whole thing. Because I started it before COVID, then COVID happened, and then, like, you know, lumber prices hiked.
I was to say, getting anything,
couldn't get anybody to work because, anyway, all that aside, finally got the studio finished. I'd been living in Nashville for, you know, 5 or 6 years at this point, and I was working with other artists, lots of local artists, lots of younger bands who just love coming through Nashville because it's a fun town, and it's not New York or LA. It's in the middle, and it's a little more, you know, approachable and reachable. So yeah, I just kind of buried myself in working with acts that I was excited about. A lot of them, like I said, were independent artists, and just passion projects. But it was a crash course in learning. You know, I've gotten to work with a lot of great producers, a lot of great engineers. I've been in amazing studios. You know, got to make a handful of records for major labels with budgets back when there were budgets for that stuff. And I saw a lot. I just wish I would have retained more of what I saw and actually learned. So this is what that was me just actually taking all these experiences I've had and I guess making up for lost time and being like, maybe I should learn microphone names and like what they all do. But it, you know, it was a lot of fun, and it's not something. It wasn't just an era. It's something that I love and I'm passionate about, and I hope to make, you know, more records for other artists in the future. The last couple of years, it's informed how to do it, you know, with and for my band, and that's been incredible. You know, especially, you know, nowadays we're an independent band, so there's no label, there's nobody paying the bills. Like a lot of this we're doing ourselves. Tyson is recording his vocals himself. I'm recording a lot of the rest of it myself. And our old keyboard player, Scott, is, you know, helping us produce it, and he's doing a lot himself in his home studio in Austin. And so it's been amazing to have these resources to, you know, put out something that we're proud of, that isn't just the bedroom demos that I was doing back in, you know, high school or that year of college I didn't go to.
Yeah. So 20 something years later, what's the difference now getting ready to play live? Do we got a different stretching routine? Is, you know, is it, you know, night after night as we're going through this crazy tour? Like, is there a lot more attention to like self-care and mental health to be able to do this stuff?
I have insoles. Not willing to trade the Converse in for fucking On Clouds or whatever all those other guys are wearing. making those Converse work every night.
Picture you throwing your insoles to the crowd and then going
Yeah.
wild for it. Yeah.
No, I mean, there's definitely things I'm prioritized more now that I
Sure.
just didn't care about back then, like prioritizing sleep. I mean, granted, when I was touring in my 20s, I would sleep till fucking 4 in the afternoon, so I was
Yep.
getting sleep. I just wasn't prioritizing it, but I'm
Yeah, different
prioritizing
type of sleep. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Prioritizing things like, just my body in general, just working out and moving and stretching. This is a non-alcoholic old fashioned right here.
Wow. Okay. So it's just juice. Yeah.
No, it's these it's this I can't do that. And I can't do the shit that's supposed to it's just fake bourbon. Can't do that shit. It just
Yeah,
tastes like
yeah.
fucking garbage.
Yeah.
These are these little canned old fashions from Little Saints.
Okay.
Pretty cool brand. I don't get free shit from them or anything. They're just one of the few that I've found that are actually satisfying.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, back then, shit. If we were, especially if it was a headlining tour and we weren't going on to like 9 or 10, like I would have had a 6-pack of whatever IPA before we even played. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think Tyson was like a bottle of wine deep every night before we even went on stage, just because we're fucking bored.
Yeah.
And like we're young, we have access to pretty much whatever we want. So yeah, it's a lot different.
Who do you think was the easiest to bring into the band and the hardest to get them into the band of the non-originals of you and Tyson?
Well, of the original of the 4 of us, it's the original 4-piece. But the 4 of us are on every record since Move Along. That was our second record. But like I said, our first record, Tyson and I got signed and we recorded that record, just the 2 of us. And so it took us a minute to find the 4 of us. And it was through touring and playing shows to promote that first record that we did that. We met Mike and Chris. They were playing for another band in Oklahoma. And back at this Mike's College bar where we had the permission slips. We still might have needed the permission slips at this point. When that record come out? 2002? Yeah, I was only 20. So yeah, we were playing at Mike's College bar with our permission slips, and that's where we met Mike. And then I think his band needed a fill-in drummer for something, and that's where we met Chris. He was the fill-in drummer for Mike's band. And like just the way he showed up, and you wouldn't even know it was his first show with them. Like, okay, we need that guy too. So we ended up stealing the both of them. But before we got there, we had a couple guys playing drums. One guy I was in bands with, ska bands with, because remember the late 1900s.
Of course, everybody had to try a ska band.
Yeah. Oh, I had multiple ska bands simultaneously.
Give us one of your ska band names that you're like, oh boy, there's got to be a good one.
Inspector 15.
That's a number. There's got to be a number in there.
Yes.
I think Drowning Fish was another one.
Okay.
Yeah, there were lots of upstrokes, lots of upbeats. But yeah, this kid I grew up with and was played in bands with throughout junior high and high school. He came and helped us play a few shows one summer. But yeah, once we got the core 4, that was it. Like this is the thing. Like,
yeah,
can't fuck this up. Like, can't change this. I think there was a lot of I think there was a lot of moving parts to getting Chris. But when we finally got him, we're like, yes, we got
him. Got our guy.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, we can't thank you enough for your time and all. We love your music. We love your stories. Been a great laid back interview. Really appreciate it. So, if people want to check you out, I know you talked about Sandbox coming out this year. You did
May 15th.
May 15th. You had a album with Buzzkill that came out this year in February as well.
Yeah, that was a really fun project. And there's more songs coming with that one too. yeah, this kid Tate, he was in a pop punk band a few years ago called Happy. I worked with that band a little bit, and he and I kept in touch. And he was like, "Hey, man, like I got this handful of songs um, that I just really wouldn't need to get out." And we finally figured out the right formula to get him to Nashville. We just spent, a week or two just hunkered down in the studio, finished these songs, and he's finally putting them out. And yeah, I want to say we did that like 2023 maybe. But they're a lot of fun, and he's a great hang, great to work with, and yeah, he's doing something really cool with this. He's got the artist name Buzzkill, and he's a big horror movie buff, so it's got a really fun but like dark theme to it. So those will be fun to trickle out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to know what you're up to, the All American Rejects, any other projects, where are the best places to go?
I've only learned how to use Instagram, so I'm on
Yep.
there. And yeah, anything I do, music wise, coffee wise, gear wise, whatever. I'm on Instagram, Nickolas Wheeler, as well as Wheelhouse Studio Nashville.
What's the next thing you're gonna dive into after coffee? Do you have your eyes set on something?
Oh man, well, like I said, as I've gotten into not just the NA cocktail of it all, but the adaptogen of it all.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to explore that more. These have lion's mane in them, and I found another great one that's great before bed. It's got ashwagandha and CBD and shit in it. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not just sucking down juice because I need something in my hand.
Right.
That's something that I'm probably gonna nerd out on. And with that, like I usually don't just pop open a can. Like I really love to like craft, like concoct things, mix things. So I'll figure out how to make satisfying cocktails that won't make me regret everything the next day.
I love it. 20 years later, we're talking to you and you're researching. It's like I feel like you guys got another 20 years in you, man. I feel like we can be talking about the 2020s in our next interview.
I hope so. If we're all still around, then.
Awesome.
Final question for me. When you stole CKY's beer, was it good beer or did you have to spike drink Bud Light?
Fucking Budweiser, man. At least it was. I think it was full flavored Bud. At least.
Bud heavy. All right.
Yeah. Man, I love it. You guys did some digging. You found.
Oh
some,
yeah.
You found some jewels in there.
Nick, thank you so much. Good luck with the albums,
Thank
the
you so
tour.
much.
Love to have you back on someday. It's been an honor chatting with you, my friend.
Thanks, Nick.
Likewise. Y'all have a good one.